I am and who's giving you some recommendations and thoughts on some of this. I'm a clinical psychologist. I have been working now with children, adolescents, families, couples, and individual adults as well for the past, I guess it's been 16 years. So, and I've worked in the school system as well as I'm an expert witness with the state of Florida and the court system. I do a lot of testimony there. I do a lot of work with families that are going through divorce. And I also do a lot of work with domestic violence and anger management, ADHD, depression, anxiety. So I have kind of a wide range of things. If, as we're going along tonight, you have some specific questions, please feel free to ask. I want to make this as specific for you as I can. Can everybody hear me okay still? Yeah. Good? All right, cool. All right, so I want to start off by letting you know that after tonight's presentation, you will never again need to yell at your children or feel upset in any way, shape, or form. That's not at all. So know that if you find yourself yelling at your children at some point in time, it doesn't necessarily mean you're doing anything wrong. There's probably a good chance it means that you're human. So you want to be realistic with yourself, okay? And I'm going to be throwing lots of information at you tonight. Might be a little bit of an overload. So what I would recommend doing is take a couple of points from what I'm saying and really kind of hone in on those. You don't have to have all of this just right. I mean, I have all of it just right, which makes me an amazing parent, but you know, not everybody gets to do that. So, and I have color changing stuff going on behind me, so don't let that distract you. Yes, part of the show. All right, so this is middle school parenting for middle school parents, right? 101. So we're going to go ahead and do a classroom setting. So the syllabus is all of the stuff that you're going to need to address and cover all the time. This is sort of your background information, all right? The first thing is you want to help them want to make you happy, okay? Anybody have any bosses at work, or is everybody their own boss? Anyone have a boss? Right? Okay. So you tend to want to do more and give your best to a boss that you like. That makes a difference, doesn't it? Yep. So you're the boss at home, and if you're not, we're going to be talking about that tonight, because you need to be the boss at home. So, but you want to be a boss that they want to work for and that they want to make you happy, which means some of that time thing that Mr. C was talking about, okay? But time in ways that matter to your child. So you just want to spend quality time. Maybe you bother to play one of the video games they're into. You watch some, my daughter loves her YouTube videos. And she's like, oh, you got to see this, you got to see this. And inside I'm going, oh, really? Again, I have to see this? But outside I'm like, all right, yeah, let me see. Show me, show me. Even if it means I'm just taking out 2 or 3 minutes, I just said yes to my daughter, and she just wanted to share her world with me. So I'm like, okay, I'll do that, even though I'm in the middle of cooking dinner or taking care of something for one of my clients even. And then doing activities. One of the things that we do as a family a lot is laser tag, because I have that age group from 7 up to 13. And so finding stuff that they all enjoy, and we're interactive, and we mess around with each other, and we're physical. We're not just going to a movie and sitting there having a shared experience. We are experiencing each other, and that makes a big difference, okay? So you want to help them to like you so they want to work for you. Be consistent. Pick your battles. I don't have to get into that too much. I think you probably know what that means. And we're going to talk a little bit about which battles are probably going to be most important now. You know, their fashion may not be the strongest sticking point at the moment. Don't say it if you won't do it. So, I'm not a little person, but my husband is a considerably larger person than I am. He's a police officer, he's a sergeant, he's 6 foot tall, and he weighs about 285 pounds. So he's more of a presence even than I am. And yet, he says to me a couple of years ago, he goes, I don't understand. Why is it the children will listen to you and they don't want to listen to me? And I was like, because I won't say things a bunch of times, and you will. And that's the difference. And they know that if I say something, I mean it. And if for some reason something slips out of my mouth, right? Like so I'll say we're at a store, right? done this particular one that I can recall, but it's a common one. If you do that one more time, we're out of here. And yet, you have stuff to do. You can't leave right then and there. And they know it. Right? So, you can't say it. So if something like that were to slip out of my mouth, as soon as I kind of realize that I'm not going to be able to do this, I'll step back and say, you know what? I'm going to take that one back. We're going to do this one instead. So don't be afraid to step back and kind of think through, make sure you're going to be able to do it. Oh, good. We switched colors. So give respect to get respect. This is really huge, by the way. So often, we're very wrapped up in our own world, so it's kind of like, all right, go take care of the dishes, get the table clean, we gotta do all of these things. But they're in the middle of a TV show. They're in the middle of a certain level on their video game. They're in the middle of something. And not too many of us would appreciate if we're in the middle of a TV program and somebody comes up and goes, click, all of a sudden, we're on the ticked off side. Well, it turns out they're human beings and they don't much appreciate that either. Now, that doesn't mean that life has to be on hold for all of their TV programs, but for some of us, I happen to have a pause option on my TV. We tend to use that quite a bit. For those of you that don't, it's like, okay, you know what, at the next commercial, when it's coming up, I need you to take care of this. And if you don't want to miss your show, I guess you're going to have to take care of it quick. It's going to be up to you, you know? Or how long is it going to be? It's just like, oh, but I need to finish this level. Okay, how long is it going to be? Probably about 2 minutes. That's what you got. You got 2 minutes. So be respectful of them so that they're going to want to give it back to you. Require respect. I mentioned before, I don't get pushed over very much. Okay? Because I'm not a pushover. Because I'm very consistent about what I do. So that if you say, finish that level, and 5 minutes later they are not, now we're into 15 minutes later and they're going and going, you haven't done anything, but now you come back and you like blow your top. And it was just like, well, you weren't making sure at 5 minutes that they were done. You needed to make sure at 5 minutes that they were done. Otherwise, they're walking all over you. Respect, not fear. It's kind of a hard balance, okay? Because generally speaking, when I say something to my kids, they know I have different tones. As you can hear, I have a strong voice. My voice can get much stronger if it needs to. So my kids can read that, okay? But I'm not beating my children. And when I give them some kind of a punishment, it's reasonable. So they're not afraid that I'm going to come after them, but they know from my tone that I mean business. So they're not afraid of me, but they know also not to mess with me. And you don't want to be afraid to make use of that. So, realistic expectations. How many of you ever have to bring work home? Anybody? Is there ever a time when you bring work home that you just kind of want to take a break and then kind of you got to get to it? Well, if you don't bring work home, I'm going to tell you that that often happens. I bring work home a lot. So you want to be understanding that they're not little robots. Okay? We have a system when my kids come home. We've had a system ever since, they had a system before my kids could read. Because there was a piece of paper that was up on the wall that people made fun of me for all the time, and it had pictures of what they needed to do when they came home. They had to get changed, so there was a picture of a shirt on there. They had to wash their hands, they got to have a snack, and then they got to do homework. And I wouldn't say to them over and over again, hey, go get changed, hey, go. I didn't say anything. I went over it and I was just like, where you at? Where you at? And they know, I don't have to say any of that anymore. I haven't had to say anything like that for years. My husband, on the other hand, it's amazing how different it is. They all live in the same household, but for my husband, he'll have to say things over and over again, just like I said. He will. But I am reasonable. They get, 15 minutes to have that snack time. When they get to, I let them know, you can start watching the show if you'd like to, but just so you know, you got 15 minutes of it. So either you can record it or pause it at that point, but 15 minutes is what you got, and that's what they get. Also, as they are, we're going to talk about this a little bit more, they are physically more tired in this age. Anybody notice all of a sudden your kids that were maybe getting up at 7 a.m. on Saturday to watch cartoons, now all of a sudden are looking to get up somewhere between 12 and 2 o'clock, quite possibly? All right? They're more tired. Their bodies are literally going through more things. Don't try to pretend that they're still in elementary school, because they're not. Their bodies are not. So you want to be thoughtful about what you're asking of them. Let them know what's expected in consequence if it's not met. How much do you appreciate it when you go into work and all of a sudden there's a new rule about when you come in late? Before there was a little bit of a window. And now all of a sudden you show up and, you showed up about 10 minutes late and you find out, no, you had 7 minutes. That was your window. And guess what? We just docked your pay. Versus, we let you know, listen all, starting next week, 7 minutes is the cutoff, that's the deal. How much more do you respect that person for giving you that information? Right? You feel respected, and now all of a sudden there isn't that same feel of fight versus you found it afterwards, you're paying the penalty, and now you're going to want to fight back on that. So give them that same thing and let them know what the deal will be if they don't follow through. As often as you can, sometimes stuff pops up. Model who you want them to be. This is not always a very easy thing to do. We're trying to teach our children to not blow their top. We're trying to teach our children to be organized. Trying to teach our children a lot of things that sometimes we're not so great at. My sister, her house is a disaster every single time you walk into her house. And her children's rooms are disasters, and yet she goes off on them. And I sit back and I go, I'm not really sure what you're expecting for them to do. They watch what you do, but you expect them to do something else. Pot smoking, same thing. I have a number of parents that bring their children in because of drugs. And then when I get to sit down and talk to them, of course they have their stash, but their kids would never find their stash. Except, of course, their kids have found their stash. So you want to be very thoughtful about, do what I say, not as I do, kind of thing. Am I going too quick? Are we okay? All right. So I know this is a lot of basic kind of things, but it's a reminder about some of this that if you're not living it, you need to start living it. Because it's not like there's a bunch of fancy tricks that you need to help your kids get to where they need to be. It's a lot of basic stuff that you need to do. So I'm going to hope that I'm pressing the right button and going forward. Oh, and I do this, it's the circle.
Yeah, the circle on the right.
There we go. Now, in addition to a syllabus, whenever you go into class, you also need to find out what your supplies are, right? You need to know what you need to have on hand in order to be successful. So you need some supplies to help read the problem behavior you might have. Just like, for instance, if you go into a doctor's office, right, and you're like, listen, I'm having stomach problems. Okay, well, describe for me your stomach problems. Is it happening after you eat things? Is it waking up in the middle of the night? What kind of pain is it, right? You'd ask all those kinds of questions. Well, I'll have people come in to me and say, my kid doesn't listen. Okay, well, there's not one answer to that. It all depends on what's going on. So you got to ask some questions. Are they feeling heard? Maybe they're not feeling so loved. You would be surprised how many of our kids do not feel loved by their parents. That doesn't mean that their parents don't love them and aren't doing things to love them, but they're not loving them in a way that makes sense to their kid. And we're going to get back to that a little bit, but that's a big one. Do they feel respected, as we talked about? Are they trying to be in power? Which is what our next slide is going to be, because power is a big one for our middle schoolers. And there's good reason for it. Are they tired, hungry? Is it PMS kinds of things? So is it something physical? And then, of course, you want to consider if there's some kind of emotional cause. The number one symptom of depression in children is anger. Okay? And the reason that that happens, you see it a lot in adults as well. The reason that happens is because we have some primary emotions, and then we have secondary emotions. Okay? Our secondary emotions are like parasites. They don't have a life of their own. They feed off of and live off of our primary emotions. Anger is not a primary emotion. It's a secondary emotion. So some of our primary emotions are going to be things like fear and grief and joy. There's good ones and bad ones. And then you got some secondary emotions like anger and jealousy. But just like if you have a bacterial infection and all you do is hit the symptoms, that secondary level, right? You can take NyQuil over and over and over again for bacterial infection. And 4 to 8 hours later, your symptoms are back because you didn't treat it with the antibiotic, right? So you need to get to the primary level. And the reason why anger is on a secondary level is when you think about being really sad or really scared, you get stuck. You don't have a lot of drive. You're stuck oftentimes. Children even more so because they've had less life experiences to draw upon to know what to